All right, last off the top topic. Now, we all know the big film in theaters right now is Venom. Just had that record-breaking opening weekend, made over $80 million. Huge success for Sony. Everybody's happy. So that's gotten everybody to talk about the sequel. Now, I'm about to give away in this story a minor spoiler from Venom that has to do with a post-credit scene. It doesn't even have anything to do with the movie, okay? It has to do with a post-credit scene. If you haven't seen Venom and you don't know what the post-credit scene is and you don't want to know anything, you might want to pause the video here for a while and come back a little bit later. So I'm going to give away a small spoiler from a mid-credit scene, okay? Are we clear? Good. As most of you know, we got Woody Harrelson in the post-credit scene as Cletus Cassidy, who of course becomes Carnage, and then he says in the thing, I'm going to get out of here, and when I do, there's going to be carnage. I didn't actually like the mid-credit scene. I know everybody else loved it. I thought it was sloppy fan service, but whatever, there it is. So clearly, they're heading and pointing towards Carnage in a Venom sequel. That has got a lot of people talking that, well then hell, if you didn't do Venom rated R, you gotta do the sequel rated R if you're going to have Carnage in it for heaven's. I mean, you can't do a Venom movie with Carnage without it being rated R, right? Well, no. And the producer of Venom, Avi Arad, has come out and basically put that to bed right away. So there's no speculation over the next couple of years. He's come out and saying, nope, Venom sequel with Carnage is going to be rated PG-13. Here's what he had to say. He said, when you hear Venom, forget Venom. When you hear Carnage, the only thing you can think of is R. But if you know his story, if you really know the comics, there is no R here. He's a tortured soul. It's not about what he does, because we never have to show the knife going from here to there and the blood is pouring. What you have to show is, what's the motivation? Was he born like that? Or is it someone we should feel for? Because if you are succeeding to make a villain someone you can feel for, jackpot. I want to go back up to near the top, to the key part here, where he says this. But if you know his story, and if you really know the comic, there is no R here. Now, a lot of people are going to get upset hearing, just like they got upset that Venom wasn't rated R. Turns out Venom didn't need to be rated R. But there are going to be a lot of people who get upset when they hear that a movie with Carnage isn't going to be rated R. But Avi Arad, who sometimes does things that I really disagree with and sometimes says things I really disagree with, I'm not the biggest Avi Arad fan in the world, but when he says something that's very, very true, if you know the comic's not R-rated. Especially when you go back to the original stories with Carnage, like if you go through it, if you directly translate what's on the page to the screen, you're going to end up with the PG-13 thing. I mean, that's the reality of it. And where a lot of people were screaming that you cannot do Venom unless it's rated R, they proved you can. Made huge amount of money, and the vast majority of the audiences like it, but not all the critics liked it. That's fine. But the vast majority of the audiences liked it, and it made a hell of a lot of money. Ergo, you can do Venom without it being rated R. You can do Carnage without a rated R. Look, there's a lot of stuff you can do in a really violent comic book movie and still get away with being PG-13. Venom showed that. There's a huge body count in Venom. They just didn't show, lots of blood splurting all over the place, which is fine. Like, even when Venom runs a guy through with a giant blade, or I should say when Riot runs a guy through with a giant blade, you're showing a guy getting skewered with giant blades. How's that in PG-13? Just because they didn't show blood gushing out, that's all. Really, in a lot of these comic book movies, that's the only line between R and not. Is really because most of the time, we've talked about this before, R in a lot of movies today is about vulgar language and sexual content. A lot of R's come from the vulgarity and come from sexual content. Were we expecting either of those in a Venom movie? No. So you can get away with a hell of a lot of violence if you just don't show blood gushing when you stab the guy. That's it. And it worked just fine. And I think a Carnage can also work just fine as a PG-13 if you shoot it right and if you do it right. They proved they could do it with Venom. I'm sure they can do it with Carnage. And yeah, we'll just have to see how that all turns out. I know a lot of people aren't going to be happy about hearing that, but the reality is I think it's going to be perfectly fine. I really do. All right, with that stuff out of the way, let's go on to